Hello. Today we will discuss Blueprint Pillar 4, resources to ensure all students are successful. As with our previous discussions, during this discussion, you'll have the opportunity to complete the FCPS Blueprint Community Engagement Survey by accessing the QR code on your screen. We want to know your thoughts and questions. The goal of Pillar 4 is to provide more support for students who need it the most, including students from low-income families, students who receive English Learner Services, and students who receive special education services, ensuring all students have access to behavioral health services as needed. To provide us with more information on Pillar 4, we have two guests with us today who are helping to lead this work. Dana Falls, our Director of Student Services, and Dr. Deveda Coley. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to start with you, Dr. Coley. We know that providing additional aid to students with disabilities and students who are learning English is a priority. How is FCPS allocating that funding?
So I'm going to speak to our EL funding, which it's very exciting that we're going to be able to expand our current EL services. Right now we have services in 8 middle schools and 4 high schools. And so with this funding, we'll be able to expand staffing to all of our middle and high schools, which will allow our students to be able to stay in their home schools and receive their services there. Also, we will be getting additional funding, which will be able to help with all of our staffing. So we'll be able to hire more highly qualified staff. And so that will be able to allow more individualized instruction for our EL students.
That's wonderful.
It is, it really is.
Mr. Falls, how are we using that funding to serve students with disabilities?
We're excited to be able to expand opportunities for supports for students with disabilities. We're looking in a couple primary areas. One being therapeutic supports for students with social emotional needs. So we're planning to expand the opportunities through itinerant therapists that would be able to provide those services to students in their home schools. We also are looking at expanding the continuum of supports for students with social, emotional, and behavioral needs, as well as pragmatic language needs as well. And so we're expanding the programs that we have available to those students moving forward to increase opportunities for students to receive those services as near their home as possible, so that we can cut down the transportation and commute. Two other areas we're focused on really deal with more of the infrastructure and data collection and the use of that data. So we're looking to either build or purchase an online IEP program that would enhance the current program that we are utilizing now, as well as either develop our own or purchase an MTSS data collection platform so that we can better monitor the supports that we're putting in place and the effectiveness of those supports.
Wonderful service to kids and families for sure.
Absolutely.
And in thinking about those services, Dr. Cooley, I know one of the things that's outlined in the blueprint are community schools.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what that means and what is being done to expand community schools here in FCPS?
Absolutely. I'm always excited to talk about our community schools. The community school strategy is just fantastic. A community school really is a place where our students, our staff, our families, and our community members all work together to ensure that students have an equitable and high quality academic experience. And the school becomes the hub of the community. It's a place where we provide wraparound services and be able to bring in supports. And we do a needs assessment to determine what the needs are and what the assets are in our community. And then we use that to help make sure that we are removing any barriers that may be in the way of students being able to achieve. For example, I'll talk a little bit later about Vision to Learn and how we brought in and were able to distribute 80 glasses to students last week, and we'll be doing some more in the future. We just determined what the needs are and really meet them. The blueprint allows us to have a community coordinator at each of our 4 schools, and our 4 schools are Hillcrest Elementary, Waverly Elementary, Butterfly Ridge Elementary School, and Lincoln Elementary School. And so those 4 schools each have a community coordinator, and that person really builds upon the great work that's already at the schools. They are doing needs assessment, they are trying to figure out what it is that the school has already that's fantastic and how we need to build upon upon that. They are also building relationships. That's key this year, is really building relationships, getting to know the building, getting to know our community partners and our community, and just being able to analyze exactly what it is that we want to do to ensure that our students can achieve. It really is exciting. The Blueprint also allows us to have a community nurse, and the community nurse helps us by being at all of our extended learning opportunities. They are there to provide classes on healthy living, or just to be there for any health concerns that may happen during our extended learning opportunities, any of our events. They are a resource to our families, our schools, just to look at that health component. For example, when we talk about attendance, we talk with our nurse and talk about ways that we can provide strategies to families or connect them with outside resources. So it really is an exciting opportunity to expand on the great work, have a person that is dedicated to creating those community partnerships and just making sure that our students can achieve academically.
That's wonderful. So it's not just the academic focus, but it's the whole child.
It is
everything
the whole
that child needs there at that place.
Absolutely. And the school being the community hub where people can come and know that we have resources, or if we don't have the resources, we'll hook them up with our wonderful community partners.
So just a follow-up question, what determines if a school becomes a community school as outlined in the Blueprint?
So in the Blueprint this year, they had to have at least 65% of the students receiving free and reduced meals. And so from those forms that we collect, we certainly look at those percentages. And so all of those schools have at least 65% students who are free and reduced meals.
Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
You talked a lot about community partnerships, and we know
Yes.
that FCPS has a wonderful array of community partners that help us address the academic, the social, emotional, behavioral, the health, all the different needs that our schools
Yes.
demonstrate. Can you tell us a little bit about what our partnership work looks like as it relates to community schools in the Blueprint?
One of the exciting partnerships that we have going on right now in our schools is Vision to Learn. And Vision to Learn is a company that comes out and they provide free exams. They bring a van to the school and they provide free exams to our students. We were able to do that at 2 of our schools. We did it at Waverly and Hillcrest Elementary School. And so in Maryland, we already screen students in pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, and 1st grade. This allowed us to screen students from kindergarten through 5th grade. Any of those students who did not pass the screening, we were able to do a free exam on our school campus. And any students who did not pass that exam then were able to receive free glasses. And so we've already passed out 80 pairs of glasses to students. We did over 100 screenings this week, so we'll see what the results of those are, and that will result in more glasses being provided. And as you know, that is just a partnership that just ensures that our students can see so that they can learn, and that's what we're talking about, doing things to remove barriers that lead to that high academic rigor. And the piece that really makes this a community school initiative is that there were several organizations who were involved, and that's what community schools are about, building those partnerships to really remove those barriers. So as you can see, lots of partners, lots of people working together to ensure that we are meeting this need. I can also talk about this week, several partners that I met with just this week. Advanced Behavioral Health, they're providing additional health services to our students. With the money that came from the Blueprint, we were able to go ahead and fund, if a student needs help, we get that done immediately. And so we are able to pay for some of those services and can get reimbursed if students have insurance, but we don't have to delay, wondering if they have insurance and going through those types of barriers that can happen.
It's exciting bringing the community together for our kids.
It absolutely is.
And you talked about so many of the needs being met in a variety of areas, and we know, Mr. Falls, one of the areas you really focus on is behavioral health. We've heard loudly from our families that they need more. How as a system do we identify students, and what kind of services do we provide through the Blueprint for students with behavioral health needs?
We have for some time had very strong partnerships through our CAS workers, which are school-based social workers. They've built community partners consistently for many years. And so currently we have 8 community partners that we actively are engaged with that provide in-school therapy for our students. So students get referred for those services through a number of ways, and it starts with some formalized preventative screening that occurs in some of our schools. So our elementary schools, we've targeted high-need elementary schools with psychologist positions being dedicated to those schools. And those schools that have a dedicated school psychologist utilize a screener called the DESA Mini. And that's a formalized screening tool that collects input from teaching staff about a student's social-emotional competency. We want to know if a student is struggling with social-emotional well-being as early as we can, and then provide some in-school supports and refer to outside supports as necessary. Another screening tool that is formalized at the secondary level is embedded within the health curriculum, and that's called Signs of Suicide. And so that's a screening tool that really helps us to get a look at students that are demonstrating tendencies of self-harm or suicidal ideation. When students demonstrate behaviors that align with self-harm or ideation of suicide, we also utilize our school counselors to do an informal screening of those students and then refer to outside agencies based on the need. And we provide, through partnerships, immediate access to supports for students who indicate self-harm or a suicidal ideation, as well as then linking them with partners for long-term. In addition to that, we have the behavior threat assessment that is a multidisciplinary process that we follow anytime a student demonstrates behaviors of concern that would compromise the safety or well-being of other students or of themselves. And so we have a lot of screening built in, and we're looking to expand those screening tools in the secondary level, because that DESA Mini is really targeted for elementary age students. And so we're looking to expand with some screening tools that would be more proactive in nature at the secondary level as well.
So we know that we have experts within our schools who are there to support staff and students with behavioral health needs and concerns. What are we doing as a school system to ensure that all certificated staff who have direct contact with students, they're receiving annual behavioral health training?
That's a great question. We, for a number of years, have utilized online modules that we deliver content to teachers around behavioral health topics. We monitor that through the Unified Talent Platform, which allows us to ensure that all staff have participated and completed those trainings. We do training on adverse childhood experiences, on bullying, harassment, and intimidation, on creating an inclusive and welcoming school environment, on suicide and self-injury prevention and response to that. So there are a number of topics that are within that behavioral health framework that are required for our staff. But in addition to that, student services staff, which includes school counselors and pupil personnel workers and social workers, therapists, behavior teacher specialists, and school counselors, they all receive in-person training as well. And we even include substance abuse prevention and intervention with those behavioral health staff as well.
Thank you so much. Dr. Cooley, Mr. Falls, we really appreciate the work that you are doing, along with your co-chair, Dr. Kathy Gall, for Pillar 4, and the steering committee members that you work with to ensure that we're meeting the needs of each and every student every day. So thank you very much for being with us today and for sharing with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for another Blueprint discussion. Here are 6 key points to remember about Pillar 4, resources to ensure all students are successful. 1. It improves the education of students receiving English learning services. 2. It improves education for students with disabilities. Next, it provides supports for students attending schools with a high concentration of students from low-income families. 4. It implements concentration of poverty grants to create community schools and improve wraparound services. 5. It enhances student health services. And finally, it provides technical assistance for behavioral health needs. For more information, please go to fcps.org/blueprint. Thank you for joining us for another discussion on the Blueprint. Take care, everyone.